Welcome to the Sleep Dives channel. Have you ever been part of a big change initiative, one that everyone was excited about, only to watch it just fizzle out? It gets completely stuck, right? Well, we're diving back into Steve Pereira's flow engineering to figure out exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what we can do about it. We're going to unpack how to really lead change, how to spot and avoid those hidden traps that kill progress, and then how to make it all stick with something called value stream management.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to frame this as a leader's journey, starting with the art of actually leading flow. Then we'll get into balancing constraints, navigating some common traps, and you want to pay attention to those. After that, we'll talk about the big shift from projects to products and wrap it all up with how to manage the value stream for the long haul.
So, Section 1, the art of leading flow. And this really all starts with creating a learning organization. Look, if you want to lead any kind of meaningful change, you have to build what the great Peter Singe called a learning organization. And this isn't about just rolling out new software or a new process chart. No, it's much deeper. It's about fundamentally shifting how people feel, how they think, and how they act together. And just listen to Singe's definition here. It's a place where people are constantly expanding their ability to achieve their goals, or new ways of thinking are nurtured. What I love about this is the word expanding. It's not about being forced into something. It's about creating a space where people can grow. So as a leader, your number one job isn't to command and control. It's to create an environment where getting better isn't some special project we do once a quarter. It's just what we do every day. Now, Sanjay laid out these 5 disciplines for building that kind of organization. You've got building shared vision, systems thinking, and we've talked about those before. But for this part of the journey, it's all about the human side of things. We're talking about personal mastery. That's you and me committing to getting better. Mental models, which is a fancy way of saying we've got to challenge our own baked-in assumptions. And maybe most importantly, team learning, actually figuring out how to think together.
Okay, Section 2, balancing constraints. So once you have this foundation of a learning culture, what's next? Well, now we get to the leader's most powerful role. You become a system designer, and your main tools for designing that system are constraints. But, and this is a big but, not all constraints are the same, not by a long shot.
Pereira breaks it down into 2 main types. First, you've got governing constraints. These are your classic rules and regulations. Think of them like fences or guardrails. Their job is to make it really hard to do the wrong thing. They're great for stable, predictable situations. But then you have enabling constraints, and these are totally different. They're more like well-paved roads or guideposts. They don't lock you in. Instead, they make it incredibly easy to do the right thing. And that's where innovation really happens. And here are some real-world examples to make it stick. On the enabling side, you've got things like shared technology platforms or playbooks. They give you a solid starting point, but they don't tell you exactly what to build. On the governing side, you see things like service level agreements, rigid org charts, security policies, very much about control. And the real magic, the real art of leadership is knowing when you need a fence and when you need a paved road. And this quote from Dave Mangot just nails it. If we want teams that are empowered to move quickly and safely, we can make the right way the easy way. That's it right there. Your job isn't to write a 300-page manual on how to do everything. Your job is to design a system where the path of least resistance leads directly to the best outcome. You just pave the road for them. Section 3, and this one is critical. Navigating common traps. Because let's be honest, you can have the best designed system in the world, but the journey is just getting started. Now you have to deal with reality. Pereira calls these the 5 headwinds to progress. These are the sneaky common traps that can absolutely torpedo your efforts before you even get off the ground. Yeah, there are 5 big ones. 5 common traps that Pereira says you absolutely have to watch out for, or else all that hard work can just grind to a halt. And you really do have to be on the lookout because these are subtle. First up, neglecting the narrative. This is huge. It's when you don't create a powerful story about why this change matters. If there's no why, there's no buy-in. Simple as that. Second, misaligned incentives. You know this one. We say we want teamwork, but the bonuses go to the solo superstar. The system is fighting itself. Third, not mapping the complete stream, where we fix one little thing over here only to make things worse somewhere else. Fourth is a big one, craving unnecessary precision, getting paralyzed by the need for perfect data. And finally, conflict with existing models. That's the immune system of the organization kicking in. That powerful, but this is how we've always done it force that quietly smothers new ideas. And I absolutely love this analogy for that precision trap. Measuring with a micrometer and then cutting with a dull axe. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's that classic analysis paralysis. We spend ages getting the data perfect down to the fifth decimal place, but then our ability to act on it is clumsy and slow. Remember, the goal isn't perfect data. It's just enough information to take the next confident step. Direction beats precision, especially at the beginning. All right, section 4, from projects to products. If you can successfully steer clear of those 5 traps, you earn the right to make a really profound shift in how your organization thinks. You get to move away from the frantic, short-term world of projects and into the much more sustainable, long-term mindset of products. And the difference between these two is night and day. Project thinking is like a one-night stand. You build it, you ship it, you forget about it. It leads to tech debt, burnout, and disengaged teams. But product thinking? That's a long-term relationship. It's built on a continuous flow of improvement, of nurturing and evolving something over its entire life. That's how you get real, sustainable results. So that leads us to our final section, managing the value stream. Because the big question is, how do you actually sustain that product-focused, continuous flow? The answer is something called value stream management, or VSM. This is the machinery that turns a value stream map, which can be a one-time thing, into a living, breathing, continuous practice. And it is so important to get the difference between mapping and management. Value stream mapping is what we've talked about before. It's a creative, human-centered exercise. It's about getting people in a room with sticky notes to tell the story of how work gets done and to dream up a better future. Value stream management, on the other hand, is the day-to-day, continuous, data-driven practice. It uses tools to track the health of that stream over time. Mapping is for reinvention, management is for continuous iteration. So, that brings up a really important question. Why not just buy a VSM tool and get started? I mean, the dashboards look great, right? But this is where so many organizations go wrong. Jumping straight to the tooling without laying the cultural groundwork first is a recipe for disaster. And this quote from a skeptical senior engineer absolutely nails why. He says, once we start getting pressure for those metrics to look a certain way, we will game them and continue on with the real work on our own. If you haven't built that shared narrative and that foundation of trust, people will see a VSM tool as nothing more than a high-tech whip. They'll figure out how to make the numbers look good, and the real work, the actual improvement, will just get hidden. So how can you actually put all this into practice? Here are a few things to think about. First, take a hard look at the constraints in your world. Are they enabling your teams or just governing them? Are you paving roads or are you just building fences? Second, for your very next change, please craft the why. Build that compelling story. Third, find a North Star. What's that one shared goal that can get everyone pulling in the same direction and cut through the politics? And finally, don't forget the dull axe. Aim for just enough data to act with confidence. Not perfect data, just enough. Because in the end, that's what this is all about. The leader's journey in flow engineering isn't a project with an end date. It's a continuous cycle. It's about designing the system, spotting and navigating the obstacles, and always, always improving the flow of value. It truly is a journey, not a destination.